The medium and opportunity for you. Make your contribution, let them know. Democracy in Spice Isles is alive and well. Ask you questions, sing and beat you drum. Make you suggestions, encourage them on to walk the straight and narrow in the land. Politics, religion and economic issue, regional, international, spiritual issues too. Agricultural, environmental and trending to subject matter. We fear none, we back down. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the land. God, we freedom, jealous and they in Cuba. Russians and Chinese and lucky like we. Right now North Korea, wish they had it too. Most of the Caribbean, lucky like we. Studio Galaxy Day for you and me. Galaxy Equalizer, ready like Freddy. And Studio Galaxy 473 in control.
Welcome back again. Welcome to our program, the second part of our Saturday program on Studio Galaxy 473 in Confer. Always remember the number to call is 536-2558. We always strive for an interactive program as we provoke discussion. In a democratic process, people have to prepare to discuss issues. There are many issues that would affect you. And if you didn't contribute to it, that is your fault in a democracy. And today, on the Galaxy Equalizer, we have the topic, I hope and pray that I am wrong about this government evil part. This period is pure politics. We believe this government is on the wrong path. We believe that this government is in a path of evil. The government seems to break with tradition. Some of their actions is very unorthodox, difficult to explain, buried in secrecy. And even individuals yesterday that was ready and prepared to discuss issues has become quiet as a lamb. That worries me. I'm very, very worried that this government, led by Deacon Mitchell, is on a path of evil. I will tell you why I say that. And as I say, I wish that I could get individuals to discuss that topic with me, to prove me wrong. I'm prepared to listen. Throughout history, we have had very destructive governments because people fail to ignore the writing on the wall. A politician don't just get up and turn bad. Because of the democratic process, a lot of politicians are weeded out. The public look at them and the public say, you're not good for politics. You go kill people. Based upon your track record. No. I don't agree with you. But in the same democracy, every now and then, you could get more than you bargained for. I believe that is what happened to us in Grenada now. We have a prime minister in power that I believe is not on a good, righteous path. Morality is not one of his strong points. Integrity seems not to influence his character at all. I think no one in Grenada now would dispute the fact that the Prime Minister is a compulsive liar. I ask myself 1,000 times, why the Prime Minister is telling so much lies? I understand prior to winning the election that he might have been trying to woo people and have gone overboard. But even after winning the election, our Prime Minister continued on that path. The Prime Minister of Grenada is traveling more than any political leader in the Caribbean. I've seen some statistics that I don't know whether it is absolutely true. Because sometimes when you see things, particularly on social media, you have to be very careful. I am a man who wary of breaking news because I don't have the mechanism in place to verify its truthfulness. And I promise when I speak to you to speak the truth and give you my opinion based upon the information I have at the time. I also challenge you that if you could advance information that differs and it's credible, I will change my opinion. My opinion is not cast in stone. We don't have a history of the Prime Minister much prior to the election. So we don't know him. The Prime Minister was an unknown entity in Grenada politics. Went to school, it seems, did relatively well, went to further school, did relatively well, went to university, did relatively well, and was in and had a good, he was cloaked in by two very reputable legal corporate companies. He was cloaked and sheltered. But it seems the Joseph in that company was deceived. And I read the Joseph papers. In addition to that, the Prime Minister of Grenada is in his opening salvo in politics, sold himself as a man with deep pockets and contacts. I've never heard any other politician in the Caribbean or any part of the world sell themselves like that. All the other politicians always claim that they want to do something for the development of the country or the people or some issues or some policy. But this Prime Minister sold himself as a man with deep pockets and contacts. When I touch base, when I interact with a Grenadian man on the ground, they interpret that to mean that you have a lot of money. And the lawyers, the judiciary in the country backs in. Well, that is very simplistic and practical because he's a lawyer. So they would assume that maybe the lawyers giving him background. The Prime Minister of Grenada have deceived almost every group in Grenada. That cannot be ignored. That is a pattern. When you face the elderly people and you promise them to raise the little money they get in, and you quote international organization to strengthen the promise you made to them, and you deceive them. That's hard. And you did not even spare the physically challenged and disadvantaged children. That's not a joke. When you face the people who was involved in the Imani program, and I've always said over the years consistently, and I've dared and challenged anybody to take me on that, that is the best program that have been instituted in Grenada in the last 100 years to give young people a second chance. That program, although I knew nothing about it, is very dear to my heart. Because as a matter of policy and philosophy and belief, I would never send a man to prison for a first-time offense if the penalty is maximum a year. I don't want him going to prison. I don't even want him to have a record. I understand cases of rape and attempted murder. But if the penalty is a year under, I do not believe he should go to prison. It's a first offense. I believe he could be reformed. I believe he could be counseled. I advocate in my daily life that based upon the age of the individual, if he is 18 or 20 or 21 or 23 years, and he is living at his parents', when I charge him, his parents have to be in the court, or is I charging them too? Because he lives in a house. And I believe in a lot of instances, a second chance is important. So maybe you might understand why I feel strongly about the Imani program. I've always added, in a lot of communist countries, they have a national service. The communist countries use national service as a means to keep young people occupied. They give them paramilitary training and to help them with indoctrination. In Grenada context, 3,000 to 4,000 young people, within 6 months of a government coming to power, re-established the Imani program and were provided with jobs. They get money. They get money. The most important thing in life to get money. Where they work, they don't work, they get money to live. A second chance to go and do examination, to get certification, because our job market requires certification. Work experience. And I know some of them went to China, Morocco, the University of the West Indies, SGU, the Agriculture Training School in Trinidad. And I see some of them turn teachers, policemen. Some of them turn agricultural officers, nurses. And I know one that is in university studying medicine, and 2 that went on to study law. I've interviewed over 50 of them, 7 on radio. And not in one case, there was not in high praise for the Imani program. So I believe it was a good program. The National Democratic Congress have always been against the program. And I think that was a wrong strategy. Maybe they should brainstorm and see how you could strengthen the program. Michael Battis had his view of the program. He believed the program was not strong in technical education. And I agree with him. I believe the program should be teaching swimming and also music and a foreign language. But that is a means of strengthening the program. The NDC came on board and trick and deceive and lied to the people on 2 occasions. The first time they promised them money, we'll give you $1,000. The program was designed to give people a little money, but to provide an opportunity for them. They said, we'll give you $1,000. They did not give them the $1,000. They watched these people in their eyes. And they say, we love you all as how we love the children. NDC never loved children. They liked them. And then they fired them. They came back another time and said, we will make you permanent. You will have job security. You will be able to go to the bank and get a loan. As if the workers in Hubbards and Hoggins and in agriculture and in the private sector and the cottage industry can go in the bank and get loan. They have a permanent job. They like them again. And then they fire some of them again. I listened to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of Grenada said morality is a private thing. The Prime Minister is a highly certificated man. You're not dummy. And the strength of a lawyer is words. That's where lawyers are strong. The manipulation of words. They perhaps more than any other profession understand the power of words. So when the Prime Minister of Grenada used certain words with regularity, I don't treat him the way I will treat Tevin Andrew or Andy or the sister from God. The Prime Minister knows what he's saying. The Prime Minister felt it necessary to take on the Catholic priests in Trinidad to refer to morality is a private thing. I continue to follow this gentleman. The Prime Minister believed that some people are classless, commoners, beggy, culturally literates. The militant NDC have continued to add the other fractious and demeaning phrases, which it seems the Prime Minister endorsed. He has never objected to it. The behavior of that individual breaks with tradition, is very unorthodox. No leader I know in Grenadian history or anywhere else in the Caribbean encourage people to use obscene language. I have never heard it in Grenada. I have known of a politician, he was on the mic, and some guys was taunting him in the back. So he pulled the mic from his mouth to grenade some bad word to them. But in the process, he turned on the mic. And he had to apologize. This Prime Minister with regularity is inciting our children, our young people, to be disrespectful and to use obscenities. Not only in Grenada he did it, but he went in alien land and do it. The Prime Minister seems to have told lies to his own team. And then I found out about the second cabinet, the real McCoy. Because there are some members of the cabinet that do not have power. Obviously, Teddy St. Louis and others seems to be part of the Prime Minister's main cabinet. The Chief of Staff. I've always heard Teddy St. Louis' name from day one. I've been very careful because he was a magistrate. I think he was the chief magistrate. But from the day I heard he retired, it seems immediately the alarm bell went off. And it seems the gentleman retired to take up a post with the government. He left Grenada as the advisor to the Prime Minister. By the time the Prime Minister reached on the plane, he considered him as the Chief of Staff. And that was not the name that he wanted to give him. But they say Teddy in too low, so like the name. He might have afraid I might have called him Chief Mobumbu and Chief Ladingo. We have to be careful as a people. The writing is on the wall. And we can't ignore the writing. Look at the manner in which the Prime Minister is sneaking in bills in Parliament. Bills of a fundamental nature. If you want to amend the Constitution, that is no easy thing. Particularly after you made 2 attempts that failed. Particularly because your party did not support the amendment. If you want to introduce amendment now, you are duty bound. You have a moral obligation to inform Grenadians. We did not support, you don't have to say that. They know that. But we believe we want broad-based support. And because the NNP promoted and supported it on 2 occasions, it's difficult for them not to support it now. But the Prime Minister sneaked in that bill in Parliament. He sneaked in that bill in Parliament while he was pushing another very fundamental bill. That bill had to do with sex. That bill had to do with abortion. That bill had to do with transgender. The Prime Minister was well aware that that bill would have turned heads in Grenada. So he tried to sneak in these 2 big bills into Parliament at the same time. I became more disturbed. How all these Grenadians who claim about accountability, transparency, good governance, high morality, how could we remain so silent? What is wrong? And then you hear Alexis is one of the masterminds working with the corruptor-in-chief and the individual who I consider on an evil path on a trajectory that leading down an evil road to sneak a bill like that in Parliament. Francis Alexis was up and down the country informing the Grenadian and Kit Mitchell and Tillman Thomas and the others that if you have to change a letter in Petit Matnik, you have to have a referendum. You have to get 2/3 of the people in a referendum voting. Now, Francis Alexis is not Francis Payne. Francis Payne is an ordinary rustic that doing a program here is a political comedian with dry humor. Nobody care about him. Francis Alexis is the foremost constitutional lawyer in Grenada. His profession was called for in other countries. He is the most recognized constitutional lawyer in Grenada. He's the czar. He's the real McCoy. So I asked the question, what changed Francis Alexis? Who or what is responsible for that change? I know Francis Alexis is waiting in the departure lounge. I know as a constitutional lawyer and a man who involved in politics and what we've been hearing on the ground, Francis Alexis Dorich, he broken. He broken like me. Still have to fight to do work in your old age to live. But what's about his character? What's about his integrity? What's about morality? So, does Francis Alexis believe today that morality is a private thing? What is going to happen to this country if we're going to tamper with the Constitution? Did Francis Alexis get a loophole in the Constitution? An ambiguity? When we have our best brains decide to fight change the Constitution because of ambiguity or loopholes, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And they don't even have the guts or the honesty or the balls to come to the public and say, we been telling you that, but when we examine the Constitution, we might have been wrong. And we have seek other counsel, and we could change the Constitution without having that. Albert Einstein warned us, don't trust morality in the hands of the highly intelligent. Now I ask myself this question. Why Francis Alexis? Why? I know the corruptor-in-chief is using money as law to woo. He is prepared to pay money for good relationship. Francis Alexis, you must tell the public, if you receive good relationship money, if you receive law money, did the corruptor-in-chief corrupt you? History would not pardon you, Francis. History would not pardon you. You went up and down the country from the cinema to Baines Hall. I attended a number of your sessions. I was there because I ain't too long. And you said to amend the Constitution, we must have a referendum. And because you was the constitutional czar, everybody respect you. When Kit Mitchell decided he and his government to amend the Constitution and they went to you, I was well pleased. Kit Mitchell went to the enemy camp and he said, we're trying to amend the Constitution. We know you want to amend it too. Please lead it first. Get a broad base. I don't know how much power you had, Francis, in choosing the broad base, but a man of your integrity, a man of your caliber, a man of your professionalism and portfolio, you must have been instrumental in determining how broad the base will be. You had Ruggles Ferguson with you too. Kit Mitchell, Ruggles Ferguson can be no friend of Kit Mitchell. Francis Alexis cannot be no friend of Kit Mitchell. And no, Richard Duncan cannot be no friend of Kit Mitchell. Kit Mitchell went to the camp. He said, come and join me. This is not about party. It is about the nation business. I had more respect for Kit then. And I respected you gentlemen for rising to the occasion. Because this was not a party issue. I have made noise in the Caribbean for Portia Simpson and other leaders who resigned from party politics to stay in Caribbean politics and express their view and opinion on issues that transcend party politics. Francis Alexis, well, obviously it's a different gravity we're using, but it's like a next downfall of mankind. How could you know, be among anybody, to sneak in Parliament? I disagree with the NNP. The NNP should not support the bill. Even if they agree with the bill, based upon the principle. And I understand you all bring a paper and all you sign a paper in agreement. How could you be part of that, Francis Alexis? Understand Iwat Lende too. What happened, Francis? You afraid of what? I don't expect you to fret nobody. You in the departure lounge, but I expect you to continue fighting the good fight. Why did you let the corruptor-in-chief corrupt you? Did you have any say in the preparation of the sex bill, Francis? The bill they're producing is the sex bill, where they want to give the younger people more responsibility to make decisions of a reproductive nature. Transgender, abortion, sex change. That is evil. They sneak that in. Francis Alexis, why Deacon making so much secret trip in countries? You know, concern? Francis Alexis, since you want to tamper with the Constitution through loopholes, were you pleased when Deacon said publicly that the only reason NNP getting help because they don't know who the real NDC is? In my opinion, that's a declaration of war. I was shocked that the NNP took it so lightly. That is a declaration of war when a political party said that. The prime minister in a political party. He has already been practicing retributive justice. In fact, you remember, they came in power on the 23rd of June, officially. Election was on the 22nd. And by the 5th of July, they were giving out papers to people who they perceive to have attended NNP meeting. They were giving out papers to people who they perceive to have attended NNP meeting. The people who attended NNP meeting was people from the lower socio-economic strata, low-rank people. There is no evidence so far that any senior public officer was seen in green clothes. But there is evidence all about that senior public officers was seen in yellow clothes. And that is NDC. Every time NDC win election, some public officers are prevented from entering the office. The NDC militant arm, by the time the election finished, before the official result, the NDC militant arm have identified public officers and prevented them from entering the government office. Now, where we going? This is the worst version of NDC. In fact, I think they got rid of the traditional NDC. And the militants, they join up with the atheists, the communists, those who don't know whether they want a CCO Flato or a Material Butu. And Francis Alexis will give them support. How could you do that, Francis? All these years he was on the battlefield. All these years he was walking on the straight and narrow. St. Paul said he fight the good fight. Why didn't you fight it to the end? That's a betrayal. There are so much Grenadians that's silent. I think they have a thing where they say money talk and bullshit walk. Is it? What's about the attack calling on NNP? This government, I believe, is doing an evil part. And I would like discussion on it because that's a dangerous thing. If my analysis is true, in the next couple of years, tears would be in a lot of your eyes. But I wish it's not true. And I will cease and desist from making those statements if you advance credible information that is not true. You have some things we hear in here that are shocking. I call on the Minister of Housing, Sister Glow. Don't follow the NDC on the retributive path. You're not wise. Go back and look at the life of Kit Mitchell and Eric Gary. They were able to maintain the majority of voters in their constituency and increase the amount of vote they get. Because they did not practice retributive justice in their constituency. They were accommodating. They were forgiving. And they reach out to the most deadly enemy. When Eric Gary visited a community, and after that a number of people from the community benefited, And some of the gay rights supporters say, uncle. He said we have to keep our enemies near. He diluted the bitterness and the hate of the people in that community. Why do you think Kit Mitchell was able to increase the support in his constituency? Sister Glow, how could you be practicing retributive justice against individuals in your own community? How could you be doing that? You didn't win, but you could win next time. And what's about the next time?
And the next time.
What did you say for the farmers in Maryville? How could you be supporting the injustice that takes place in the farmers in Maryville? When you take away bread from a man, and he goes home and he can't feed his family, you're looking for violence. The only thing I could say to you, you're looking for violence. Because a man has to provide for himself. When you deny people in the community scholarship because the parents support green, you make permanent enemies all your life. Even your children could bear the bitterness and the hatred and the venom. The hatred that Deacon Mitchell is advocating in this country would last long after he's gone. Sister Glow, you're supposed to know better than that. You're supposed to know better than that. Recently, there was some shooting in the United States of America where individuals go and shoot up place. I'm not too quick to judge these people. I have to find out why. Because when injustice is done to people, and there is nobody to return, nobody to turn to, sometimes water more than flour. They break. I ask the question, and I hope and pray that I'm wrong. I believe Deacon Mitchell is going on an evil path. And there are a number of people are following him because he's paying money for good relationship. They shut them out. They put on dark eyes because they're getting good money to shut them out. When the minister's salary was raised by 300%, when they have the power to give contract to who could give them kickback, and Jenny Simon spoke about one, but we have a lot of others. I don't interfere in breaking news. So my solidarity and support is for Jenny Simon. I know the risk she take. I know the amount of work involved in providing for her. I know people could die. And I know people who give a document could say they knows nothing about it later on. Because Deacon Mitchell is evil. I am convinced that this prime minister is evil. Maybe he's supporting some different occult party. I watched the ease with which he dabbles in the occult. Were you aware that during the election, there was also an issue with an occult practice in St. Andrews Northeast? I don't know if it was other place or how widespread it was, but it was in St. Andrews Northeast. I think people were so shocked that they don't want to speak about it. Maybe they believe this thing is a joke. But look at Deacon was on the stage. Switch off the light. Trying to evoke Maurice Bishop's spirit. And when the Minister of Health visited the hospital after 12 in the night, and he was confronted by a nurse, maybe she find him looking strange and she recognized him. One of his own supporter. And he said he was doing an official visit. She's shocked, But hear what the senior nurse tell her. You should have sent him in the pathological annex. He must be looking for Maurice Bishop's spirit. How could we in Grenada see these things and not be concerned? How could we see it and not be concerned? I accuse the NDC for inciting violence. I've said it before. I look at the behavior of Deacon Mitchell, the Prime Minister, and he's an inciter of violence. I look at the behavior of Claudette Joseph, Minister of Legal Affairs, a highly educated and certificated individual, a lawyer, jumping up as if he's a passa and saying, shoot Babylon. Babylon represents the police. Claudette can't tell me she don't know that. She's a lawyer. She's a teacher of history. She's a student of history. She would have had to deal with this issue many times before in court. The police might have brought up individual for using obscenities. And they would not have charged them for calling them Babylon, but that would have come up. Babylon so and so and so. And she was jumping up. Passa. Shoot Babylon. And I blame them for the action of Tevin Andrew. Very eloquent, could speak good, but he don't have much depth. So you don't know he shouldn't say that. That's what happened. He could speak good and he liked the song of his voice, but he don't have much depth. So I blame them for Tevin Andrew want to cuss police. And the sister in Gov. You see, when leaders open their mouth, followers pay heed. Yes, the shepherd must smell like the sheep, but the shepherd mustn't turn the sheep. You're there to lead the sheep, to guide the sheep, to protect the sheep. We have had no apologies from these individuals. You see the ease at which these individuals squander public funds. You hear the rumors. It's running wild. People are showing concern. You listen to Jenny Simon. You listen to the Minister of Finance. You listen to Sister Glow. The Minister of Housing, I think, and Social Affairs. You hear the rumbling. You heard run. Speak. These people have no respect for regulations and the guardrails and the economic discipline put in place for the safeguard of the economy. We hear how their members, very early I spoke with great regularity about the workers fired in Grand Bay Estate. And I said 19 of them was NDC. Well, I think they employ back 20. So either my calculation was wrong or NNP might start to wear yellow band. Because you have to fight for survival. I appealed to one minister with the help of others. And we were able to rescue some caregivers. Eventually, some of them suffered. We in Grenada, the writing is on the wall. We can't pretend we don't know. These things we are seeing is unacceptable. Some of the men that are silent in Grenada won't have to be shocked. And now Francis Alexis is like a stab in the back. You have heard some of the names that people refer to the Prime Minister as. Strong arguments could be advanced that it make it difficult to challenge even by hardcore members of the NDC. Let me repeat that. Strong arguments could be advanced for some of the names that we call the Prime Minister, that it would make it extremely difficult for hardcore members of NDC to defend. When we say the Prime Minister is a compulsive liar, who in NDC could stand up to defend that? When we say the Prime Minister has told more lies than all other political leaders in Grenada since 1967, who could defend that? When we call the Prime Minister vulture, and we watch the ease with which the Prime Minister of Grenada went after the elderly, the physically challenged, and disadvantaged children, who could defend that? Who could defend it? When we say the Prime Minister is poor people terrorist, and we watch the manner in which he treated the caregivers, and his policy on the house units built by the Chinese, and Elvin Nimrod, I never support Elvin Nimrod with this dumb statement about Kakabawi for Kakabawi. I didn't agree with that at all. I thought that was a selfish statement. But he negotiated strongly in NNP for Carriacou. He's the first politician in the Caribbean that said, we get with fair share. We get with fair share. But when they asked me, I had to ask still. He's the first politician. And then this word fair share, some people start to look for it, except St. Andrew's people. I never hear any St. Andrew's politician without being funded by the financial institution. The Prime Minister came publicly and chastised the tardiness, the delay in handing over the houses to these poor people. The tardiness, the delay in handing over the house. The Prime Minister watched the people and he blatantly lied. He deceived them. He tricked them. He stabbed them in the back. And then he take this 100 house unit from them. If that is not evil, I want somebody in NDC tell me what it is. He have to be a terrorist for poor people. The Prime Minister was aware that these houses was built for the people who cannot access loan to the banks. The credit unions. Most of these people will be over 35 years. No financial institution wants you after you reach 50 or 60 to get house. None. The bank, even though you are land, the bank don't want you. The bank say you go dead just now. They give you no money. That is an act of evil. Now, how could we in the society, which Grenadian, put up your hand, if you could defend the Prime Minister when we call him poor people terrorists? For all these reasons and more, when you say the Prime Minister is a master deceiver, who could defend that? Who in Grenada or in the diaspora could defend the statement when we say the Prime Minister is a master deceiver? When we say the Prime Minister inciting violence, well, a lot of the actions of the Prime Minister inciting the young people to be disrespectful. He incited young people to get iron dog. When he made movie with an illegal substance to wit weed in a police, in front of the police, you know. And I understand the person Yadi went and do it is a suspect of the police. That means, I don't know if I'm using the right word. The police suspect that individual for dealing with drugs. The Prime Minister went there and make movie with a substance that is illegal. On 3 occasions, I spoke to young friends of mine and asked them to pull out on social media. With the falling and all. One of them had gone on social media to beg it. Check it out. He said they legalized. I said, no, the Prime Minister lie. He said, no, I said the Prime Minister lie. Anytime they legalize it, I go put up a sign on the rum shop.
You must know.
Because he ain't listening no news. He just have a radio I think in the ears, listening to them bad boy in a Jamaica. You know, most of the Jamaican, not most, a number of the Jamaican artists and R&B artists is criminals. That they listen. Shoot Babylon, bow, 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 bow. You see the Minister of Legal Affairs jumping up like passa, passa.
Gun finger in the air.
Now, what kind of Prime Minister we have? Look at the Prime Minister flip-flopping. Man go quite the United Nations and trick the poor, the children of Christoph. So I hope and pray that I'm wrong about the government and the evil part. And I challenge you and I dare you. Challenge me. Take me on. My cousin Blash, using newest radicalized militant of the NDC. I have a lot of patience with you, because I know you don't match or good yet. Please, if you find reasons or justification, or you could advance arguments for the Prime Minister's position, I beg you, advance it. Because I think we are going down an evil path. the Prime Minister may be under some drug or mind-altering substance. When I say mind-altering, it could be coke, it could be hashish, it could be some drug substance. Most of these intellectuals don't smoke cigarette, and they doesn't smoke weed. And you have to understand that. Most of these bright, intelligent, certificated individuals, they don't smoke cigarette. And they do not smoke much weed. They take other drugs. And if you think what I'm saying is not true, ask the lawyer that like weed. You don't take in the other one. Ask the lawyer that like weed. A number of the criminals in drugs are intelligent and educated people. Highly certificated people. But because of discretionary income, you will not know, because they don't have to sell the cylinder, the gas in the house to buy coke. We as a people in Grenada, we are responsible for the direction our leaders take. We can't say we don't know. We have seen what happened to us with Maurice Bishop. He jailed over 3,000 Grenadians, castrate people, rape people, shoot people. A number of crimes has been committed against our people. Well, we could say we didn't know that. We could say Bishop tricked us because he was a great orator. But now, you have another one that seems to be worse than Maurice Bishop. He might be an occultist. He might be supporting some strange religion. It seems that we have a third party guiding our foreign policy. But he's leading us in an evil direction. And this is the program for today. And as you know, we provoke this discussion. We encourage you to subscribe to our program, share our program, take us on, challenge us. We dare you. Thank you very much.
Let them know. Democracy in Spice Isles is alive and well. Ask you questions, sing and beat you drum. Make you suggestions, encourage them on to walk the straight and narrow in the land. Politics, religion, and economic issue, regional, international, spiritual issues too, agricultural, environmental, and trending to subject matter. We fear none, we back down. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the land. God